Hi everybody, hi, I'm Anne of Gibbons Travel Consulting, a boutique travel agency based here in Regina, Saskatchewan, helping busy professionals take their bucket list trips. I wanted to come on here today to follow up what I was talking about last week, all about travel priorities. I am enjoying a beautiful, what I consider a beautiful day out on the deck here, doing some work outside. And it has just started spitting a little bit, so stick around and see if I get rained on. So last week I talked to you a little bit about priorities. Know what's most important to you when you're booking your trip. Book that first and then let everything else kind of follow. So kind of most important priority and then follow that out. So this week I wanted to talk to you a little bit about priorities within your trip itself. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of this analogy before, and I think the story goes, a teacher goes into a classroom and they have a jar, and they say to their class, and they put ping pong balls in the jar, and they say, "Class, is this jar full?" And then everybody goes, "Yes, it's completely full of ping pong balls." And then they add in gravel around those ping pong balls, and they're able to fit gravel in. And the jar fills up again, and the teacher goes, "Is the jar full now?" And they go, yes, it's definitely full now. And then the teacher starts pouring in sand, and the sand fills in around the gravel and the ping pong balls, and now the jar is looking very full. And the students are going, okay, yes, it's full now. And then the teacher pours in water on top of that, and they once again realize, oh, there's still room in that jar. And so this analogy is kind of about knowing what the important things are in life. So the ping pong balls should be the things that are most important to you. So things like your family, your career, if you're passionate about your career, your health, the things that should really matter. You make sure you take those out. You find time for those things in your life first, and then all the other things that are added afterwards, the rocks. Maybe it's weekly girls' nights, or it's those other relationships that kind of add to your life, but they aren't the key priority. And so I would like to steal this analogy and say, okay, let's take it away from what's important in life and look at it the same way as we look at building a trip. So if you're going on one of your bucket list trips, let's say you're going to Paris, and part of what's driving you there is you've always been dying to see the Louvre. Maybe you're going to Ireland and you really want to bike the Aran Islands, or maybe you really want to go on a boat tour of Loch Ness and see if you can spot Nessie. Then you need to know that those are the ping pong balls of your trip. I really wish that they had something other than ping pong balls, because it's not a very poetic reference. Maybe call them the boulders. So you need to know what your boulders are. So you need to know why you're going, what's really important for you to see there, and you want to focus on that first and foremost in your trip. So you want to go in and you want to check to see when those availability is for those particular activities or tours or sites. The Louvre, I believe, is closed Mondays always. So that's something that's really important to note, because if you're going to be fitting into your trip, you've planned the rest of your Paris holiday, and then all of a sudden you realize that the Louvre's closed on Monday while you're there, then you're missing a big chunk of why you traveled there in the first place. You're missing a big component about why you really were interested in seeing Paris. So you really want to focus on those first. You want to look at your week laid out, and you want to carve out a big chunk of time for those items that really matter to you, because you don't want to be running out of the Louvre after an hour and a half, 2 hours, because you've booked yourself a boat tour on the Seine, and have realized once you're there that you really need more than 2 hours. But trust me, you need more than 2 hours at the Louvre, unless you want to just do the one track tourist trail to the Mona Lisa and back. So that's something really important to know. Know what your big important boulders are, and then we move on to the next step, which is some more research. When you're doing more research, make a list of all the things that you find really interesting and that you'd really like to see. Now, these aren't the reasons you're traveling there, but these are things that you would really like to see and maybe be a little disappointed in if you missed. Then you start to fit these in amongst where you have gaps in your itinerary, and kind of work from there. I would strongly recommend to not overschedule yourself. If you're doing more of a custom itinerary, so you're doing a lot of this research, I would strongly recommend sticking to no more than 2 booked things in a day. So maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, maybe one in the morning, one in the evening, whatever you're doing, just because you want to leave those gaps for you to kind of just sit and enjoy for like random explorations, for a nap. It's possible you might need a nap. So you want to leave a little bit of time for yourself to really stop and enjoy the place that you're at. Plus, you're going to be run off your feet. No doubt about it. So no more than 2 per day is my general recommendation. And then once you have those kind of worked in there, the next would be just noting everything else that's kind of of interest. You can maybe have a list going that these are things that if you had some time that you wouldn't mind seeing. And then in those gaps of time, if you're in this location, you can look up and see, okay, this is nearby, I can just wander over there. Maybe it's a market, maybe you can go find yourself a coffee, a little pastry, a snack, and you can enjoy those other components that don't make the A or B list, that aren't your boulders or your rocks. I think we've lost all frame of this analogy, but so that would be the step 3. So that's kind of the 3-step process. Know what your boulders, rocks, and sand is. Now, if this sounds pretty stressful to you and you would like some help, feel free to reach out to me. I can definitely help with this. What I do is I do a lot of custom itineraries for my clients, and so it's definitely helping them figure out what their priorities are, fitting those into the trip. Sometimes a lot of people don't want to schedule a lot for their holiday, and that's great. If you're going to Europe, there's certain things that you definitely want to buy tickets for ahead of time, because you'll see great long lines leading up to the Louvre, for example, and that is not people standing waiting to get in. That's people standing waiting to buy a ticket. So do not stand in line to buy a ticket when you actually just want to be in the Louvre itself. Now, what I do is, so I help them map out their itinerary. We leave in space for them to wander, them to explore, and then I also love to create a custom map for my clients, and I will map out little interesting things that I think that they might find of interest, and that way if they're out and about, they can say, oh, this is nearby. Might have a little picture in there, a little description of what it actually is. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about my custom travel planning services, feel free to reach out to me. You can message me through Facebook. You can visit my website at gibbonstravel.ca, Gibbons travel.ca. That's all I have for you guys today. I have not been soaked, so it looks like the sun might peek out. It looks like it's going to be a nice little afternoon here. So you guys have a great day, and I'm Anne of Gibbons Travel Consulting, and I make travel easy. Thanks.